Welcome back to the third episode of the Rosenthal and Jeselnik Vanity Project.
Hooga chaka, hooga hooga.
That was Most Def with the intro this week. Thank you to him. Big fan of Anthony, big fan of the show. Your responses at the top there just get increasingly ridiculous, Anthony.
Yes, it's going to be a running theme as the show goes on. I just think of something like what would be fun for me to say in that moment, and I pick up something random. My other option, actually, I might use it next week, so I'm not going to tell you. But I was in between two things. I went with Ooga Chaka.
We're back for the third episode. I'm continually surprised. I was driving with my wife Emika, who listened to our first two episodes, which says a lot about you, really, Anthony, because she never listens or watches or reads anything I do. I'm not just saying that to be
Oh,
funny.
yeah, your wife is so sick of you at this point.
It's true. But she was saying there's no way that higher ups, that your bosses are listening to this, because it would not continue if that's true. And I think she's pretty much right. I think if my bosses were listening to this, they would just be like, why are we doing this?
See, I understand why she would think that, but I disagree. Like, this billboard, I mean, this thing is huge. This podcast is huge. Number one on the billboards. And you know who's on board?
Who?
Roger Goodell.
Wow, I didn't know that.
I never would have guessed him to be a podcast guy, but he says he listens to a lot of them. I rode up in the elevator with him, and he said to me, he looked me in the eye, he shook my hand, he said, Anthony, I'm a big fan of your comedy, but I listened to the podcast, both episodes, twice, he said. He mentioned, he like kind of squeezed my hand like extra hard when he said the twice, and he was like, I watched it twice, and he said, if I could unzip myself and step out of my own body and become someone else, he said, I'd want to be you. Which is a quote from Rocky IV, and I called him on it. That was Lil Wayne. That was a fun run last week. We played this Lil Wayne clip over and over again. We found out, I did not know this, but I found out that you can use any song you want for 5 seconds as long as you say who it was afterwards.
Yeah, you got to give him credit. That was, of course, Fireman by Lil Wayne.
Is that made up or is that a real thing?
What?
That you can use it at 5 seconds?
5 to 10 seconds.
5 to 10 seconds?
That's
Okay.
what I was led
Good.
to believe.
All right,
yeah,
good.
as long
Sounds
as you
real.
credit it and you're kind of talking about pop culture, Lil Wayne,
Yeah.
his career is not going so well right now. I feel like the publicity we're giving him is invaluable.
Oh, he was in the elevator with me and Roger. And
Who else is in this elevator?
Just the three of us.
Okay.
That's Brandon, our producer, by the way. In
There's-
case you guys are wondering who the non-famous voice is. It's Brandon.
Actually, it's more famous than you think.
It's weird the elevator.
I think it would have to be.
Yeah.
It's weird the elevator gets so much use in a two-floor building here.
I know. But only the VIPs get to use it. Let's go through what was cut from last week's episode. People, I get some tweets. People are like, "Why are you working with the NFL?" The NFL works with me. Everybody, the NFL works around me, and I get to say whatever I want. I do whatever I want here. I come in whenever I want, and then you guys get to edit. I don't listen, but then you tell me what was cut out. So let's go through what was cut. Number one, I have here edited because Greg's a sensitive little girl. With your wife Emika, you were describing. We were talking about porn for some reason. I don't remember exactly, but that while your wife was sleeping, you would edited for content again.
Well, you say we. I did not bring this up at all. Maybe I talked about the topic because none of this has ever happened. You talked about it. I think you even described filming it or something, but yes. That came up. I have no idea in what context.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I understand why it was edited, but I don't understand why we said it. Number two was a favorite of mine. I invented a product that I was trying to market called Bed Full of Guns, sponsored by Greg Hardy. So I made several references to a new product called Greg Hardy's Bed Full of when you want to sleep, but not too well. Greg Hardy's Bed Full of That was edited out many, many times. And I understand why I couldn't really fight them on that. That is something they don't really want to talk about, much less repeat repeatedly. After that, we talked about Johnny Manziel and the Cleveland Browns want him to break up with his girlfriend.
Yeah, and a lot of that stayed in the show.
So it did it. I didn't listen, but I know I was like angry. I was like mad at the whole situation that you're a professional quarterback, you're Johnny Football, and your girlfriend's in the way.
Right.
Come on.
That the part of your anger at Johnny was cool. I think it was when you started directing it towards the girlfriend felt a little unfair. Didn't make the cut.
Sure, you don't know her like I do. After that, we cut another reference to breast cancer, which I'm sure we're talking about the pink that the players and coaches were wearing. Edited because October was Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
See, if you just had left it at that, it could have stayed in. But then when you start going and on, that's gonna be edited.
Hey, I thought about going to medical school.
You were the worst student I've ever seen. You barely went to class. That wasn't English class.
That's right. And now, who makes more money?
It's not the only concept.
After that, after the breast cancer thing, we cut a story about Gregg's truancy as a waiter. It says here, I don't know. I know I would never use the word truancy. We were just talking about you were a bad waiter.
Yeah, I think it's something about our summer together.
Yeah, on Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, you were on the cold line making lobster. Making
lobster rolls.
Lobster rolls.
We worked at a restaurant together. I was in the kitchen. Gregg was out front. And I think it was just probably a boring story. I think anytime we have a story that's more Gregg-centric, it's going to get cut through no fault of his own. After that, a Hitler reference. Edited for Jeselnik-related shenanigans. So I'm just a history buff. After that, one of my favorites, one of my favorite kinds of edits, the edit that makes no sense whatsoever. But you kind of understand where we had one of the edits, I think I used the word damn. And we're not allowed to say that. I can say damn if I want to. I can say God if I want to, but you throw those two together, and it's a Molotov cocktail. And there are people who don't like it because I can imagine that a lot of our listeners, heavily religious, heavily all of the major religions listen to it. The Pope is on board.
You bring in a religious crowd in general.
If you believe in a higher power, that higher power is me.
Well, the best part about this was that this was one of those drops. Edited for blank.
It was a drop. It was edited.
And that got edited.
Yeah.
When will it end, Anthony?
Probably this week.
There was actually one more that you forget.
Oh.
There was that long rant in the sources section that you had. One of your sources in Philadelphia finally uncovered what is really going on in Chip Kelly's private life.
Oh, no, that was in there.
Paranoid of hidden metaphors, wonder what I meant. Could have vent through your mental indent thought.
That was Blackalicious. The new Blackalicious. I'm a big fan. I'm a big hip-hop guy. Gregg, let's do some headlines.
Let's do it. Let's start really at the top of what I think America's been talking about all week long. Des Bryant's monkey.
Des Bryant owns a monkey.
PETA, not happy with it. Des Bryant released, an Instagram picture. He's got his monkey. Dallas Bryant is the name. Lives in Dallas.
Named his monkey Dallas.
Yeah.
It's pretty. I wonder how many names he had to think of before he landed on Dallas. It's not good.
Couldn't have been a long list. He posted the picture. Instagram. PETA was not happy about it. They were pointing out you're not really supposed to just have monkeys in your house. The monkey should be in a sanctuary. A lot of people ended up getting asked about this. Jason Garrett was asked about this. Jerry Jones was asked about this. Jerry Jones. Actually, let's hear what Jerry had to say about it.
I am a monkey fan.
Such a great
I am
quote.
a monkey fan.
Such a great quote. Just the way he says it, you can tell he's smiling when he said it. Like, he is a monkey fan. He's not. A lot of people would just say that just to try to, keep the players in line. But you can believe Jerry believes it. I kind of agree with PETA here. I don't think.
Hot take.
I don't think that you should have a pet monkey. That's why all the monkeys I have in my apartment are dead. They're all dead monkeys. I've got 13 to 18 dead monkeys. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's got to be like in rules of three. Because
how do they all get there?
Well, here's what I do: is I'm a taxidermy guy, but I'm kind of lazy about it. Where what I do is I get the monkey, I get 3 monkeys, and I get a board. I get like a little 2x4, and first I glue the monkey's feet to the boards. All right. So the monkeys are okay. I feed them while I'm doing this. The monkeys are glued to the boards. I get 3 monkeys in a row, and then after I feed them one last time, I put glue on the monkey's hands, and I put the hands over the mouth, one I put the hands over the eyes. And then when I put the hands over the ears. And then like a week later, depending on how much they ate the first time, a week later, you've got a great taxidermy, hear no evil, see no evil Speak No Evil thing. It's pretty good. It's like
It's cute. It's very cute. It's sellable too.
it's cute. The waiting is the worst part, waiting for them to finally pass away. But and after they're dead, though, it's a conversation starter. Not only why do you have this, but why do you have so many of them? The hardest part is you got to Febreze it constantly. It's like monkeys living in a rainforest, except instead of rain, it's just Febreze.
I can see the evil, I can tell it, I know it's illegal. I don't think about it, I deposit every other zero. Thinking of my partner, put the candy, painting on a Rico, digging in my pocket, in a profit big enough to feed you.
That was Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar.
Can't just go like indie with this stuff. We got to go with the big guys.
Yeah, we go with what we like. We get to choose.
Another story in the news in the NFL out of San Diego this week. Sad. I'm a big Keenan Allen fan. I don't know if you watch the Chargers at all. Out here in LA, they're the closest thing we have to a local team.
Keenan Ivory Allen.
Keenan, he was on Last Comic Standing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great host.
So fun.
The receiver, of course, out for the Chargers, one of the leading receivers in the league. I think he has the third most catches through 8 weeks in NFL history. But he will not get any more catches this season because he has a lacerated kidney that will knock him out for the rest of the season.
A lacerated kidney. What happened to the football that I grew up with? Remember back in the day when Ronnie Lott cut off half his kidney so he wouldn't have to miss a play in the preseason?
Ray-Bans, Bow shoes, J. Crew. I'm back in New England.
That was apathy. That was way too long.
That's all on Greg.
Well, I wanted it. I like the intro.
But you gotta pick the part of the song that it's gonna play.
I texted Greg earlier. I said it starts at 10. Do you want me to do 10 to 25? Because
But you
there's 10
gotta
seconds of
have that
instrumental.
beat. I mean, that's great. That could be the start of the show right now if we can get apathy to prove it.
You were wrong.
I should have just completely just stopped him there.
You could bypass me and go straight to Anthony for all musical.
I thought it was funny. And don't talk to me like apathy was your choice. Like I gave you that song. I was like, you've got to hear this guy Apathy.
Yeah, that's fair.
He just raps about being from New England. It's hilarious, and he's great. He's great. What's the next?
I can pick whoever I want and act like however I want. We're going to talk about Matt Leinart and Ken Whisenhunt's firing in Tennessee. Of course, Ken well from his days with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Nobody beats the Wiz. We all loved Wiz. A lot of people thought that Wiz should get the job after Cowher left.
Yeah,
I was one of those guys. But I love Tomlin. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Tomlin fan. But I like Whisenhunt. I think the story is not so much that Wiz got fired. It's the more interesting part to me is Matt Leinart's reaction to it.
Yes, Matt Leinart. He enjoys nothing more really than the demise of Ken Whisenhunt. I've never seen anyone so publicly open about stomping on a guy's grave when the minute he gets fired. The second it gets fired, he puts out a tweet that says karma, and then another tweet that says, well, now Marcus Mariota finally has a chance.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, the thing about me is like no one can deny that Ken Whisenhunt as a coach was unbeatable.
Wait. Stop there.
What's up, Brandon?
He's 3-20 was his record with the Titans.
Nigh unbeatable.
So very beatable.
Nigh unbeatable. I bet a lot of those were close games. But I love that Matt Leinart will never let it go. Like he'll be at Ken Whisenhunt's funeral talking about this stuff. Like he'll be at funerals for other Whisenhunts.
He'll be tweeting at his funeral
just in case Ken shows up to pay his respects. Like Leinart's got Google alerts. And I feel like this is like Leinart's only happiness. Like I can see him like walking around his apartment, like carrying his Heisman in one hand and tweeting out karma to Whisenhunt with the other one. That was Ghostface Killer. One of my favorite killers.
I got to bring up something. It's not in football, but it's near and dear to your heart, Anthony. This week, Chipotle had to shutter 40 restaurants after allegedly feeding E. coli to customers in their Halloween burrito or some sort of spooky burrito themed. Now, listeners may not know this, but you have a close relationship with Chipotle. Your highest honor, I would say, in your entire career is that Chipotle reached out to you and handed you something the public probably wouldn't know exists, but some sort of celebrity card where you can go to Chipotle any day of the week, any day of the year, and get a free burrito.
Yes, this is kind of sad for me. Like, I don't know if you noticed, I lost my wallet last week. I hadn't lost my wallet in years, but I lost my wallet. And credit card's replaceable, driver's license, I'll get a new one. But my celebrity card from Chipotle, which I loved. And I honestly haven't been there in a while. Like, I kind of embarrassed. The employees kind of embarrassed me when I went in.
Well, for a while you were going every day.
I went every day. There's one around the corner from my house, and I went like every day. And it's only like $7. It's not like I need the free burrito, but I thought that was like so cool that I could go do it. But then eventually the employees were like, "Hey man, you come in here every day and get like a new burrito. Like, what's up? Like what's going on?" And then I had to stop.
Do you think that any celebrity has ever used that card more than you? I can't imagine that they give it to Jessica Alba and that she's stopping by every day.
Here's what I'll say. I know a couple other celebrities who have them and like never use them. They're just like, yeah, I got one too. I know a lot of athletes have them. A lot of athletes use them. So I bet like half the NFL has them. Which would be a fun thing to ask players if they have a free Chipotle card. When I got embarrassed when the one kid was like why do you come in here every day? He's like we only get 2 of these celebrity cards here at this location, and he said, but you and Elizabeth Berkley come in every day. I thought that was so funny that like me and Elizabeth Berkley from Showgirls are coming in every day to get our free burrito.
That's amazing. I've rarely seen you so giddy with excitement as you were the day, first of all, that you found out it existed and they told you about it. And then I saw you like 8 months later and you're like, Greg, do you know what happened this week? And your eyes just like lit up like a little kid and said like, look what came in the mail.
I was
like,
so excited.
It's very little, there's very few things that bring you joy in life, and yet that was one of them.
I remember that was the day you told me that your son was born, and I just didn't care. Like I was like, but I got this Chipotle card, and you were actually more excited.
I'm at the Pizza Hut.
What?
I'm at the Taco Bell.
What?
I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
That was Das Racist. Das Racist. A lot of people think it's Das. I did for many years, and then I met them, and they were like, no,
really?
It's Das. Yeah.
You met them?
Mm-hmm. I met them at Bumbershoot, a music festival in Seattle. One of the guys from Das Racist, his brother is a comedian, Harry Kanabalu, and so we were hanging out, and they were like, nope, it's Das. And I felt pretty dumb.
I taught Ellis when she still sings it often, but when she was like 1.5 and was just getting going in terms of her talking, that was one of the first things I taught her, was that song.
It was interesting. I remember that because a lot of parents want their kids to talk as soon as possible. You made her wait 1.5 years. You made her wait the full 18 months before she could open her mouth. Did you ever feel like that was cruel?
She's ahead of pace. Walker really is the one that's struggling right now.
Yeah,
she doesn't like to talk to you in particular. That's part of your whole dynamic.
I still have the rock she gave me.
She's really, do you?
Yeah, I keep it on a shelf, and just in case she asks about it again.
It's hilarious.
Greg's daughter gave me a rock, and 20 minutes later she's like, "Where's that rock?" And I pulled it out of my pocket, and everyone was blown away that I hadn't just thrown the rock away immediately. But I'll savor it.
That's what we do with them.
I believe it. I believe it. She's got a lot of rocks.
All right, Anthony, you went to Catholic school growing up. This is our final headline of the week. Right? You went to Catholic school.
My dad tried his best to raise me Catholic, even though I've rejected it.
I guess it was all public schools.
As hard as you possibly can. Yeah, I went to public school. I did not have to go to Catholic school.
You did some CCD stuff, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
What I was talking about.
Even if you went to Catholic school, probably would have lasted, what, a day, if that?
Oh, if that.
Yeah, if that.
I was not a good Catholic.
Catholic school in Cincinnati, Hamilton County, suspended a 6-year-old this week for pretending to shoot imaginary bow and arrows at classmates at recess. Was upsetting them, upsetting the other students. They got the 6-year-old out of there.
You would think that if anyone could appreciate the power of imagination, it would be the Catholic Church. First of all. Secondly, I don't think this is wrong at all. People would think like, oh, people are being too hard on this kid. I don't think it's wrong. He's suspended, but he's not missing any games. You know what I mean? It's not that long
That's true.
suspension.
No game checks.
But when you're dealing with children, I don't think you're going far enough here. This kid, I think he should be executed.
Why is that?
As an example to others.
Just to stop the plague of imaginary weapons everywhere?
Not when in school. You know, if you want to go home and Hunger Games it up, you know, you want a Robin Hood all around your bedroom, your romper room, you can go ahead and do that. But once you get to school, I think you should be executed.
Somersault in the room and it popped to the Van Damme split on him.
Run the Jewels. That's who that was. My favorites. Run the Jewels.
I love. You were really just living out your dream to be like a VJ.
Oh, I love it. I just like that. That was Run the Jewels. It's fun.
Let's talk a little bit. We went through the headlines there. Way
to wrap up, Greg.
Thanks, buddy. We went. What have you been doing? What have you been doing for Halloween, for instance? Did you do anything for Halloween?
I'm not a big Halloween guy. I don't like dressing up. I don't like the crowds. Like Halloween and St. Patrick's Day are 2 days I'm just like, let me stay in my apartment and not do anything. I went to like a birthday party this weekend for a friend on Friday, but then Saturday I just stayed in and watched movies. I like to get like horror movies on, and I saw this amazing horror movie. That it's one of those movies. You ever have something that you love, but you have a hard time recommending it because someone else is going to hate it? Like I'm a weird.
Everything
I'm
that
a
you
weirdo.
recommend.
That's true. Yeah, I'm a freak. Like I'm a weirdo. But if you're like, hey Anthony, I'd like to watch what you watch, and something that like a horror movie that I stayed up all night long, not scared, but like thinking about it, is a movie called Martyrs. It's called Martyrs. It's a French horror movie from like early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, but it is bonkers. It is totally bonkers. I watched that, and then to calm down afterwards, I watched a movie called Inside, which is also like another French extreme horror movie. They're both on iTunes. You can find them easily. And that's supposed to be one of the most crazy horror movies ever. And I watched that to calm down after Martyrs.
That's how big Martyrs.
I recommend both these movies. But I would love to know what people thought, because it's so crazy that if you're like, I hate you if you were like, Anthony, I watched this and then I poked out my own eyes, I would be like, yeah, I can see you having that reaction.
Well, you've dragged me to a lot of movies over the years, and some that I wouldn't.
You've dragged me to many movies over the years too.
Like what?
Like you're more art house. I'm more like I dragged you to see Deep Blue Sea.
Right, exactly. I would have never gone to see Deep Blue Sea. But sometimes it's a big hit. We went to some Scandinavian movie recently. Do you remember that one? Where the guy who is in Hannibal, actually, the
TV show.
It's a Western, and he just kills everyone.
Yeah.
It's pretty. That was a good one.
That was a good one. You want somebody to go see Amores Perros?
That was a great one.
That was it was all right, but it wasn't like you had to make me go see that movie. But it was pretty good.
Have you seen? I saw Steve Jobs this week
loved Steve Jobs
with Emeka. It was great.
It's bombing, but I loved it. I loved the dialogue in that. That's great. People should go see that movie. It's underrated, and I think it would have been a big hit if we'd gotten Fincher in there, as opposed to whoever the hell directed it.
I don't know.
Fincher's amazing. It's great.
No, I know that, but a movie that's almost entirely dialogue, and which is great dialogue. I love the movie, and the main character is essentially a like those movies don't do well. You like those movies because they remind you of yourself.
Yes, but I do great. I do great. I love that movie. And then, one last shout out to movies. I saw I Smile Back, the Sarah Silverman movie, which is like all about depression. It's a tough sit, but if you love Sarah Silverman like I do, and you don't love her as much as I do, but if you like her,
I love her.
Go see this movie.
You once introduced me to her, which is cool. I like when you do little things like that. Why not?
Yeah, you
had some show.
Were you cool?
I was cool.
All right.
When did that happen? Where was it?
It was like at the back of a show, right?
Like an Improv or Largo or something. Maybe Largo.
I mean, I just said hi. That was cool.
She's
it was
great.
very
she's the
quick.
best. Yeah.
Now you got me self-conscious about it.
I once introduced someone to her. A friend came to a show and he goes, "How old are you?" And I wanted to kill him. I wanted to cut his.
I think you told me that story that night, being like, "Don't blow this, Greg."
No, this was more recent. The "How old are you?" was more recent. That I was not happy. And you know what time it is, Greg? It's screener time. It's screener time. What people don't understand about celebrities is that they get screeners. Like I don't have to go see movies if I don't want to. Around awards season, I just get things sent to me. Like DVDs get sent to me.
Well, it's not just celebrities. You could be a low-level WGA writer or whatever.
That's true. If you're in one of the Writers Guild, Producers Guild, Directors, I'm in the Writers Guild. I'm in the Actors Guild. So I get these things, and I've gotten 2 so far. One is called Grandma with Lily Tomlin, which I will never watch, and I recommend no one watch it. And then I got the other night I got Straight Outta Compton, which I was very excited about. I've never seen. And Greg, there's a scene in here that you would love that reminded me of you when I watched it the other night. Remember when we used to laugh in college about the idea of Dr. Dre, like waking up in the morning and then just waking up and getting a big pile of mail, and then reading it in every letter saying Dre fell off? Do you remember this?
No, I don't remember
You don't
anything
remember this?
from college.
In the Chronic,
That sounds...
in the album The
No, I
Chronic,
remember.
there's that line where he's like, now all I do is like hate mail all day saying Dre fell off, and we're like, just the idea of him reading all of
Yeah,
that
it's just like, another bag.
and getting madder and madder, but he's like still has to do it. Like he keeps thinking the next one's going to be like an invitation to a christening.
He's fueled by that negativity.
And in Straight Outta Compton, there's a scene where Ice Cube is recording a diss track against NWA. He's left the group, and he's recording it. And while he's recording it, they're showing a montage of all the guys from NWA, and there's like 10 of them, all listening to the song separately. And when they get to their part of the diss, that this is them, you see their reaction in like real time, and it is hilarious. It's so funny to watch these guys react to the diss track. I loved it.
I gotta get that. I mean,
I would love to like let you borrow this, but I can't.
yeah, you used to sometimes bring over screeners, at least for, Emeka, that you thought she would like.
But now I found out it's illegal. Like what I have to do, what I'm supposed to do now is I watch it myself, by myself, and then I have to cut it up. I have to cut up the CD
What?
or the DVD. Yeah.
You could just keep it in your house.
No, that's not what they say. They say you got to cut it up right away. You watch it once and then you destroy it. And I'm going to destroy it right now.
So you brought it here for that?
I brought it to show you because I wanted you to remember how good it is, and then I'm going to break it.
No, vanilla.
I remain in the game to break lanes off. Some of them sensitive and some too soft.
That was Killer Mike, one of the members of Run the Jewels. Edited to keep Gregg's job. Maybe we'll leave it. I think watching you struggle with Nova.
I thought you were gonna make some sound effects there or something.
Well, what sound effects am I going to make? I just cut it. I cut the DVD in half, as is legally required of me.
Let's go to our listener of the week.
Let's.
Was a big hit on last week's show. We got a lot of great listeners this week that wanted to put themselves forward, but only 2 could really make the cut.
Was it a tight competition? Like I don't look at Twitter. I don't read these things.
Yeah, there was a lot of people, and we do appreciate everyone, saying that they like the show and hoping that it's not getting canceled. And I mean, one said that it makes me more likable, or that now they think I'm cooler than they used to think I was. So that's good. You're rubbing off me. One said they're buying one of your albums now. They had never done that before, so that's cool.
Wow.
But the winner.
Can't wait to check my bank account.
The winner is Nick Heaton from at Boston Pats. Love the show, and then he sent a picture, Anthony, I want to show you. But this is what happens when me and 2 other podcast listeners collide, #Vanity Project. And he has a picture of a 3-car accident. So once again, someone is listening to the podcast, and then they listened to your advice last week, which I didn't think was particularly responsible. You closed your eyes.
And drift into the other lane.
You recommended people close their eyes, drift into the other lane, and see what happens.
A lot of podcasts, a lot of car accidents because of this podcast. You can see in this picture, you can see the person in the middle car. They're kind of laughing. You can tell they're still listening to it, the podcast. But I think because of this podcast, people are going to die in car accidents. That's a fact. And a lot of people at the NFL have talked about us maybe suspending the podcast until driverless cars are invented, so that people can be safe out there. But I say, what cost greatness? This cost greatness.
This podcast is kind of a car accident.
I don't think so.
My timing on the last joke was.
Yeah, well, I think your part of it is a car accident. Like yours, like I'm like flying a plane around, and you're trying to like do a 3-point turn in the cargo hold in a car.
Your analogy is totally falling apart. Our second listener of the week, just to show how much we're really infiltrating the NFL media landscape, is Ian Rappaport, Rap Sheet. Our very own insider, NFL media insider, Ian Rappaport. One of his friends, Shep, is our second listener of the week. Rap Sheet sent out a tweet or a text message back and forth with Ian and Shep, where he was making sure that Ian's actually listening. Ian, of course, is not listening, which isn't cool, but he was just saying it's hysterical. They play a bunch of stuff out. Lil Wayne, it's great.
My favorite part of this, and now that I'm looking at it, is that Ian Rappaport has his friend in his phone under the name Idiots. Not just like one idiot, but like idiots.
It's his group of idiot friends.
Oh, okay, so it's like a bunch.
I guess I don't know.
I don't think so. It sounds like Shep is just like multiple idiots. Like Shep contains multitudes, and they're all done. But thank you, Ian. I don't know who you are, but I hear you've got a lot of followers. As if that meant anything.
Used to be one of the rotten ones, and you liked it for that.
That was Broken Social Scene. kind of getting out of the hip hop realm. That one kind of surprised me a little bit, but it's a great song. You should listen to the rest of it if you get the chance. What's
Our
next, Greg?
weekly Ask Anthony question.
Ooh, Ask Anthony. I like these.
What was the defining moment of your friendship with Gregg? This is from Frank Richalski.
Okay, this is a good one, and I think it's good because you have no idea what the answer is. You have no clue. Like nothing even pops into your head. You're just like you woke up one day and we've been friends for years. You don't remember. I'll tell you why, and I want to know if you agree with me on this one. All right, Gregg and I, we kind of hit it off when we first met at Tulane. We met joining a fraternity, and we were friends with everybody. We we liked each other's sense of humor. We got along, but we weren't like best friends yet, the way we are today.
Friends.
Here's the moment. Best friends.
Correct.
Best friends. Name a better friend than me.
Oh, Dave Bennett might be a tie.
Not anymore. I think I've blown him out of the water by a million miles. Dave.
I don't like to rank friends.
Well, you should. You should definitely get your top 2 in order. Dave cannot compare to me and what I've done for you and your life. Here's the story. Sophomore year, beginning of sophomore year at Tulane, a lot of times, going to school in New Orleans, a lot of times you had to leave because of a hurricane at Tulane. And the first time we had to was the beginning of my sophomore year. And the hurricane didn't actually hit, but we had to leave. And there were 2 cars leaving. We were going to go to Houston to go stay at a friend's parents' house. We didn't know how bad the hurricane was going to be. Traffic is insane. We've got to leave early one morning. It's like you've got to get out of town for your life. And there's 2 cars going. One car is our friend Jamie, which was a very nice, it was like a Land Rover, like all leather seats, all air conditioned. And it's like he's got plenty of room in there and he's got everything. And he's rich and he's gonna drive everybody. And you're like, no, I can't leave my car. I've got this, what was it, a Nissan Sentra?
Yeah, it was like a early 90s.
Early 90s Nissan Sentra, stick shift, like barely drove around. It was like on his last legs anyway, but he's like, I can't leave it here if there's a storm. I've got to drive it too, so we got to take 2 cars. And nobody wanted to ride with you. You had no air conditioning. And I was like, you know what, I'll ride with you, Gregg. And so for like 12 straight hours, we were in a car not only with no air conditioning, but we had to turn the heat on. Because your car was going to overheat in August in Louisiana, stuck in traffic, with the heater on full blast. Just your CDs, which I think every CD you owned was by Pavement, who I do not like. And we had to talk and fill time for that amount of time. And on the way back, like we bonded. We talked about everything there was to talk about. Like we ran out of things. And then on the way back, after like a week in Houston, I was like, oh, maybe I can go in Jamie's car now. And you were like, nope, now we're best friends forever. Now you're riding with me all the time.
That's a touching story.
Yeah.
I was expecting some sort of gut punch there at the
No,
I know. And once you started into it, I do remember that. I'm surprised I would have thought there was someone else in that car with us, but no.
No, nobody would come in that car. They were like making fun of us. We were dying in that car.
It was a trend because we ended up driving out here to Los Angeles when we moved out here. We also did an internship out here, so we went to Massachusetts once. So it was a lot of long distance drives, and 2 of the things I remembered was you would not like listening to Pavement, which wasn't cool, and then you didn't drive stick shift, and you were so I had to drive the entire time. But you're like 20 now that I think about it. You were an adult at that point. Driving stick shift is not that.
No, here's the problem.
I figure it out.
I was like, I would have done it, and I know in theory how to drive stick, but your car wasn't in great shape. So we were like, if you're learning on this, you might break this car. So we never actually did it. But I enjoyed myself. But that was I think that's the defining moment of our friendship. That was Bach. Going all the way back. To Bach.
Johann. That's how I talk to him. That's how I call him.
Is that Johann Bach?
Johann Sebastian Bach. Come on.
I'll take it.
Come on, buddy. Hot take of the week.
Hot take.
Every week we really could go back to our friend Stephen A. Smith, and we're going to this week, at least to kickstart our hot take of the week. It's from Twitter. It was from Colin Kaepernick getting benched. There was still some hours left before the trading deadline, and Stephen A. Smith tweeted out, if the Eagles go and get Colin Kaepernick, they can compete for a Super Bowl. Hot take of the week. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Some of the other things coming out in San Francisco this week, like old, crusty, white sports writers saying that Kaepernick is the most arrogant and rude person that they've ever covered. A lot of hot takes when it comes to Colin Kaepernick. I don't know if any of these people have watched Colin Kaepernick play recently. There's no way he would be taking any team to the Super Bowl. He can't read a defense. I know you know that watching the games. You've been studying him, Anthony. He's not accurate at all. He just seems completely out of sorts.
Defensively illiterate. I will back you on that. But I think Stephen A. Smith saying that they can compete for a Super Bowl, first of all, A. Smith, everyone can compete for a Super Bowl. This is America, birthplace of Bulls. My favorite part of the whole Kaepernick thing, and I'm kind of iffy on Kaepernick as a person. I like that they did this to him pretty much on his birthday. They cut him hours before his birthday.
Well, he's on the team. He's a backup. He's a backup to Blaine Gabbert.
Cut him. I'm sorry,
which is worse than being cut.
Exactly. Being cut like you're looking for other stuff. He's just got to chill. The day before his birthday? Before your birthday? You couldn't have done it like a day before or waited another day? I think that's the funniest part. Like, they must not like him because they knew that. They knew it was a birthday thing.
They wanted to just stick it to him a little extra.
I think they thought it was funny that they did it. Like, I don't think they planned it, but I think they thought it was pretty funny.
I think that play where, I don't know if you saw it, where he has his two receivers out on the side, Torrey Smith and Anquan Bolton, they're both jumping up and down, like saying, "Hey, throw the ball." There's literally no defender over here at all, and he doesn't even notice them. That's really his career in a nutshell. And Torrey Smith was the one who said, "Let's bench him right before his birthday."
I like to Opals and bananas.
That was Raffy.
Little surprise for you right now. This was the part of the show last week, and people love this part of the show. Anthony makes predictions, or he talks to his sources. And I don't know if you remember this, Anthony, last week. You talked to your sources about the Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
And Brandon, let's listen to what those sources had to say.
And my sources tell me that the Steelers are kind of overmatched. You know, the Bengals are playing on all cylinders. They're really doing well. Dalton's having a great season so far. But because this game is going to have a playoff atmosphere, the Bengals are going to lose by 35 points, and Dalton will have 100 interceptions. Okay, I was off a little bit.
You were off by 98 interceptions, and the Bengals got it done. And you know what? When I brought up that, hey, maybe for the show and headlines this week, maybe we'll talk about Le'Veon Bell's injuries out for the season. They signed a guy named Isaiah Peed. Maybe there's comedic value there. Who knows? We could talk a little bit about the Steelers. You responded, no, that's too depressing. We can talk about babies dying or monkeys, but the
I am a monkey fan.
But the Steelers' loss is cut so close to home that you don't even want to talk about it on an NFL podcast. How do you answer for that?
I'll say two things. First of all, I don't like
your
talking
sources. And what about your sources? Have you talked to them this week?
I definitely talked to them. They said it could have gone either way. Just a bad break. Le'Veon, I'm worried his career's over, man. Like it makes me sad. Like that's a bad injury. I don't like talking about players getting injured unless it's a kidney related. If it's something internal, if it's like an internal organ that's been damaged, then yeah, that's fair game. But yeah, that was an upsetting game for me to watch. I think my season could be over. It'll be fun to watch them go for the.
Yeah, how are you feeling? I mean, they're 4-4. They're still in the wild card mix. They're not going to win the division. What is your confidence that Ben Roethlisberger could get them going in the second half of the year?
I mean, they could be 6-2 now easily. They could be 7-1 now easily. I just think that I think the things aren't lining up right now, and Bell going down the way he did. I think that might be it for us. We're still going to compete for a wild card. We'll see, and I guarantee. Record this right now and just play it back. I guarantee the Steelers beat the Bengals next time they play. I guarantee they're going to split with everyone.
Steelers not winning a lot of games since we started this podcast. Do you feel responsible at all?
No, I do not. I do not feel responsible. I feel like I've helped them win the games that they've won. I think I single-handedly got them over the Phoenix hump or the Arizona hump. But I guarantee we go 1-1 against the Browns. We win our next game against the Bengals. We win our next game against the Ravens. I guarantee it. Take it to the bank.
There's the hot take of the week from Anthony Jeselnik. All right, let's get to our plan segment.
Don't cut me off.
I can cut you off if I want. That's part of the show, right?
Take it to the
cut
bank.
You off in real life.
Take it to the bank. The blood bank, Senator. Whenever you take something to the bank, you have to follow it up by saying the blood bank, Senator. It's from a movie. You've never seen it, but it's the best. You know what I'm talking about, Brandon?
Not a clue.
It's from not Out for Justice, not Marked for Death. What was the first Steven Seagal movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think we're going to be able to help you on this one, bud.
Steven Seagal and Kelly LeBrock.
Nope.
You can take that to the bank. The blood
Our
bank,
listeners
Senator.
can just yell it out in their empty cars right before they crash.
They might get into a car accident, trying to yell it out.
It's worth it if you die today.
They'll be looking on their phone trying to Google it.
Let's move to a new segment. Instead of your sources, because they're clearly unreliable, we're going to play a different game that I thought would be interesting. A lot of people, kind of looking for your unvarnished take on the NFL. People have been tweeting us a lot about that, looking for, certain questions. How do we really feel about certain people? Now, I work for the NFL. I have to be careful with what I say, at least publicly. I can't, I have to be factual in some of my criticism, but you don't really need to.
No, I kind of get off on people not liking me, so I can just say whatever I want. I want to be honest. I want to be authentic. So I thought it'd be fun to do a bit where you just throw me some names. They can be people behind the camera, in front of the camera, athletes, former athletes, whoever, and I'll give you my 100% honest.
Yeah, we might do this every week. Just kind of get a feel, the unvarnished truth. Does Anthony like them?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's start with NFL Network host Rich Eisen.
Oh, Rich Eisen, great guy, just the best. He interviewed me one time, and we got along really well, and spent time talking afterwards. I thought he was just a cool, really nice guy.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell.
Oh, beautiful, a beautiful man. God knocked that one out of the park, and I am not exaggerating at all. I was at the game.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, I gotta say, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him in general. I think he's bad. I would compare him to a Skeletor or a Gargamel in terms of quarterbacking ability. And I think he wants to shoot the president.
Antonio Brown.
Crunk for days, funky fresh for weeks. What was that?
No idea.
Never heard that before.
What was that?
I don't know. Figure it out in post. Who cares? All right, I got to get out of here. But just before we wrap up, we haven't talked about my God kids. How are Walker and Ellis doing?
No, today when I was bringing Walker and Ellis to school,
Sweet.